Hello, it's Wednesday the 29th of May. Normally the last week of the month would be pretty bullish for stocks and stock indexes, but we're seeing weak markets pretty much across the board at the moment. There were weak debt auctions yesterday which push yields up, which pushes the dollar back up, so the dollar's still holding 200-day moving average, and I was kind of hoping we would see a bit of a weak dollar this week, which would help commodities, but pretty much commodities are falling across the board on this stronger dollar. The only thing that's pretty big is oil, based on more trouble in the Red Sea for shipping. So that's what's going on in legacy markets, a bit more weakness than was expected. And unfortunately, that's pulling Bitcoin lower. There is some exciting stuff going on in crypto markets, no doubt about it. We've got our ETH ETF. We're expecting this pullback will be a really nice buying opportunity. There's a few other things that are going on. The flippening is happening in the ETFs. You can see that when we started, Grayscale was the biggest holder of Bitcoin. They are now just about to be overtaken by BlackRock as Grayscale unwinds and BlackRock is sold and BlackRock moves higher. The BlackRock ETF is IBIT, so that's pretty exciting. What we are also seeing in the crypto space is really the big main story is meme coins, Solana and Ethereum meme coins. But if we look at the top 10 crypto open interest, then 4 of them are meme coins. I actually thought that this bull market it would be gaming coins. I think gaming coins are still really interesting, but it turns out it's meme coins. The top 4, of course, are the leading one is Pepe, but then we've also got Doge, Bonk, and Dog with Hat. As you know, I have one of those. I also bought a cat meme coin. Cats need to catch up, and there are a couple of other charts. There are also some charts that I like in the gaming coins, so we'll take a look at those today as well, and chart patterns. A lot of these meme coins are promoted by influencers on Twitter and stuff. I would say whenever you see that, don't take a look at the chart, because if you are looking at a chart that's already spiked or already at the highs, then you are quite likely to be the exit liquidity. But every now and then people will mention a chart, and this is how I got into it. People will mention a chart that actually is making a pretty interesting bottoming or pullback pattern, and then you get a pretty nice chance to get in. So just be aware, don't buy blind, take a look at the chart, and always, if you can, buy pullbacks, especially with these meme coins, and really stay away from the leverage. They are quite volatile. Okay, so let's start where we are in Bitcoin. Now, in Bitcoin, as when we started the week, I was expecting another swing lower in this correction. Most decent corrections are 3 waves. This one here was 3 waves. These bigger pullbacks, you can see these bigger moves we've seen in Bitcoin have been 3 waves. And so I'm looking for another leg lower in Bitcoin, either to retest these lows around 66,000, but I think in terms of daily moving averages, if we are to get underneath this daily 20 moving average, which is at 67,000, we are likely to dip down to the daily 50 moving average. That's what tends to happen when you're in a flat trading pattern like this. Because there is potential, if we count from the beginning of May low, because there is potential that this is a wave 4, so we count 1, 2, 3, this is quite likely to be wave 3 because it's 5 waves up. Potentially we're hoping this is a wave 4, it'll hold support and continue higher for a nice long strong 5th wave. Then quite often 4th waves are not simple 3-wave pullbacks like this wave 2 is. Sometimes they can end up, kind of being much choppier triangle patterns. So it wouldn't be crazy if we did this and a little bit of this, and we traded a little bit sideways for longer than the market is expecting. For now though, we are headed lower. This key support, let's get down 1 time frame so we can measure this. So normally I say that they have a mathematical relationship between the swings. We can see that if we measure then from this high to this low, project it from here. The 61.8 level that I'm looking to hold is 67,000. Go back up to the daily, you can see that's right on this daily 20 moving average. This is spot prices, they're pretty similar in futures at the moment. And we can say that if we break underneath 67,150 or we close underneath it, the next support is down at 65,000 even, which is 50% or halfway back of this whole big corrective zone that we have been in since the middle of March. So, and you can see that this 50% level at 65,000 has been a really important support and resistance. We can see it was support here, resistance when we got underneath it, resistance when we got underneath it, support again. So we're going to be looking for 65,000 to be support when we pull back into it. And we can say quite, I think, confidently, if we get underneath this daily 50, we need to look out that this isn't then resistance and we don't see another bigger swing lower. So then we have 1, 2, 3, a bigger 1, 2, 3 correction like that. So pretty important support. Two levels to watch, 67,150 and then 65,000, and potentially underneath both we are likely to see a bigger correction. Because all of this is big three-wave moves, we can safely say it is still a correction. It's not, you know, a major bearish reversal yet, it's just a correction, and we just have to ride out the chop until it's ready to go up again. Big picture, remember, Bitcoin, I still think this bull market has the potential. The last two big bull markets have been on this weekly chart 152 weeks. Wouldn't be surprised if this one didn't last 152 weeks, and that takes us all the way to October 2025. So we've still got some time to run in this bull market, but I wouldn't rule out a bigger pullback before we continue higher. So that's where we are in Bitcoin. Key support today then, 67,000. Let's see what happens there. In ETH is still staying really strong. Since the ETF got announced, we are sideways in a pretty interesting pattern. The problem is when we look back at previous corrections, you know, we like to see three waves. Potentially we could see a bigger three-wave correction here in ETH. Sometimes when I'm not sure what it's going to do, the fib levels, you know, really help me. Let's take this off. So if I measure from this high to low of the big swing that we are in, as you know, we reversed to the 786 fib. Normally that would bring you back to this 38.2 as first support. So we can say the same thing that we just said for Bitcoin with these moving averages here on the weekly. If we fall back underneath this weekly 20 moving average, which was support the whole time through April and May, we are likely to pull back to this weekly 50 and 2,400. That would be quite a nasty drop. Short term though, we are still going up. If we, instead of looking at fibs retraces, we look at this most recent swing that we're inside of, where is the support if we're going to keep pushing higher, and we're not going to do that. So we're going to be bearish here, look, underneath this weekly 20 moving average. Let's go down to the daily here. Now, when I draw fibs, sometimes I put an extra one in, which is the 886 fib. So I manipulated this myself. And this fib level comes from 786 fib is the square root of 61.8, and the 886 fib is the square root of 786. So, and you know, I think of fib levels as like a step ladder. You climb up one. So here, when we reversed at this 786, because we didn't close underneath this 61.8, we're going up. Here in ETH, we have reversed at the 886 fib at 39.40. So a daily close today, at the moment, we're really looking at this kind of key support and resistance level, aren't we? Here at this 786 fib at 38.08, 3,808. A daily close underneath here. When you reverse an 886 fib, the most common place you come back to, or the first target, is 50% here at this level in the middle, 3,430. So this would be the kind of bullish pullback level. 3,430. I wouldn't rule out this 35.86 not being a wobble level, but if we don't close underneath 38.08, this is just sideways consolidation, and we could just keep popping higher. So this is how I'm kind of looking at the levels in ETH. A daily close underneath 38.08 could see a bigger pullback to 34.30. That's a really nice bullish pullback level to buy for a bounce. And if we close underneath that 34.30, we're likely to see a bigger pullback to that weekly 20 moving average, and that would be bigger than people are expecting. So really nice bullish place to look to buy. Underneath 34.30 though, likely to see a bigger pullback potentially to 3,000 and that weekly 20 moving average, and potentially another bigger leg lower. So that's where we are with ETH, kind of key support today. And if we look at it on the day hourly, which is quite a cool chart really, the king of the hourly chart is always the 200 moving average. The 200 moving average is really the king of every time frame. You can see when you get underneath it, it's resistance. When you get above it, you look for it to be support. So here we are really kind of sideways at support. And if this holds here, let's put my Hakanashi on and see if we can go green here and turn higher. You know, this is a pretty nice long setup. We don't do this bigger pullback to 3,400, and let's put an arrow here. We'd be looking to see back above the hourly 50 moving average, or a breakout from this little descending channel. Very nice three-wave correction. We're going to look for a retest of the highs, and then obviously if we get above our 886 level where we double topped at 3,940, we're going to look for a retest of the highs at 4,000 and hopefully continue higher. So pretty interesting support here, and a pretty interesting bigger pullback level if it breaks in ETH. Okay, let's talk about how we're doing in Solana. Whether Solana is outperforming ETH or not, and I have to say at the moment it's choppy and sideways, so I wouldn't say it's dramatically underperforming ETH, perhaps a little bit in the short term, but for me, you know, again, this is not a big bearish reversal. Equal measured move correction here from the high that we made in March. The support level, key support level for me for Solana against ETH is at 0.03922. That would be a pretty interesting support level. It would also be just around this daily 200 moving average. You can see previous corrections. Sometimes you look underneath the 200 moving average, and when you get back above it again, that's your kind of bullish signal that you've recovered it. So it wouldn't be crazy to dip underneath this 200 moving average and then back above it again. Would be a really good signal that Solana is going up again and outperforming ETH. Let's take a look at Solana US dollar. We go to the weekly of this one. Now, this is a little bit like that 786 fib pattern reversal level, because when I look at it against the US dollar, I feel like we have completed 5 waves up here in Solana against the dollar. And so I'm looking for a bigger 3-wave correction. And because we reversed at this 786 fib level and we are underneath this 61.8 level, I feel like we need another leg lower in Solana US dollar. And the key level to be looking to buy is at 104. So when you reverse at the 786 fib, your first target, most likely support, is at the 38.2. Sometimes you go a little bit lower depending on the measured move. So let's measure for the swings from this high to low here. Yeah, 100 then in Solana is where the equal measured move is if we do this move. How will we know if we are going down? I have to say at the moment these daily moving averages are not that bearish, but we can go level to level to level. We can say underneath this daily 20 moving average, we're going to see a bit further, a bigger pullback down to the daily 50, and underneath that we are probably headed back to 100. So everything in a little bit of a bigger pullback at the moment. But just like ETH, Solana also, trendline people are going to be looking at this going, I wonder if this kind of holds here as support. And we continue higher, because if we hold this daily 20 moving average and push higher, this is not the bigger pullback that we are looking for yet in Solana. So a little bit tricky. Okay, let's talk about stuff that's doing really nicely. First off, and work through some requests and have a look at what's going on. First off, we're going to look at Floki. If I can find where I've hidden it. Got so many exciting coins to look at today. Okay, can't find it. So let's just draw it as a new chart. So Floki. Oh, I find it hard to type with one hand. Can't wait till. Okay. Now, big picture, we have made a lovely big bullish move in Floki, and I'm not sure that this isn't just a big wave 4 that we are in at the moment. I feel like 1, 2, 3, big wave 4, and we still have another swing higher. The problem is, when is this wave 4 over? Because what I'm looking at is, again, let's try these fib levels from this high to low. We've double topped. So double tops are always a little bit tricky. You need to make sure, if you go from the low in the middle, that you don't close underneath the 236 fib, because then you're likely to see a bigger pullback, and then you're going to be looking for a measured move relative to this previous swing. So the key support we don't want to close underneath in Floki to be doing a bigger 3-wave correction is 26,626. So far, so good. Let's look at it on lower time frames and see how this level is holding up. Haven't really tested it yet, so that's kind of where we're going to be looking for a bigger correction underneath. We're holding up above the 4-hour 20 moving average, but this and this previous swing low then at 2,600, 26,600 is key support. We see a bigger pullback and likely all the way down to this bigger 61.8 of the first swing here. So we have started a correction. A really nice kind of 3-wave measured move going green again sets us up for a retest of the highs and another leg higher, and says that the big correction, so if we look at this big correction in Floki, does look like we could have completed, you know, this correction on our way to a new swing, but underneath 26,600, watch out for a bigger 3-wave pullback in this coin to continue. Okay, let's look at Kittenheimer. So this is one that this is one that I bought, and let's take off all my scribble and talk about why I bought it first of all. So on the daily, so I saw people talking about this, and on the daily, which is always good, you know, if there's a good community. When I look at this, and let's put regular candles on, it made 5 waves up like this, and it made a big 3-wave pullback. And one of the things about big 3-wave pullbacks, or my favorite patterns, is a Gartley pattern invented in 1922. And that pattern works when your first bounce is from the 61.8 fib, and your second bounce, or the reversal zone, is the 786 fib. And the best Gartley patterns, you can project fibs from this corrective swing, which here the 1272 lined up exactly. So this gives you a really good level here. And the reason it was a bigger reversal zone for me was, again, the best Gartleys are when you also have an equal measured move. So if I measure from this high to this low, project it from here, it was a big reversal zone here because of this equal measured move at 0.7766. So 0.76 actually is where I bought this coin. So this is a bullish Gartley. Now we've had the first swing off the lows, and we're pulling back. How this unfolds then, we'll see which way next. I'm expecting normally the most common target when you have a big Gartley pattern like this is new highs. because this pullback then is a trend continuation pattern. So we've had our wave 1, the most common retrace of a wave 1 is kind of 50 or 61.8. I'm going to talk about why I think it might be 50%, because if we take everything off, and we remember, when you think you have a 3-wave equal measured move correction, you put your fibs on both swings, where Kittenheimer reverse was at 50% of this high to low, which means the most likely pullback would be 50% of this low to high, because mean reverting markets tend to keep mean reverting. And sure enough, that's exactly where we found support. Let's go down to the 4-hour and look at what I mean. So we bounced from the 50% level. When I look at this low to high, I was hoping this would be a bullish flag and we would break out of it. Where did we stop? 1.15. Then we pull back 50% and then we broke out of this consolidation. So we are setting up another swing lower. Remember, measure then from this bigger high to low, project it from the highs here. Potentially the 61.8 is here. I'm just going to go look at this on a lower time frame, because I actually think our ABC may be something more like this. So 0.86 I'm looking at as the next support. But if you're not sure, you don't like this measured moves, you can just use fib retrace levels. Normally a wave 1 will be somewhere either 50 or 61.8 pullback, and so 0.9 or 0.817. And I think that this is quite an interesting buy because of this bigger Gartley pattern that we've made. I think we should see another leg higher. And these, when we look at these daily moving averages, whenever you get stuck in between them, it's always a little bit tricky. You know, you'll go sideways until you can break above them. So a really bullish sign that this one at least is headed back to the top of the channel will be a close above this daily 50 moving average. We've got this really kind of, this 50% level from this high to low is a really key kind of support and resistance level here through the middle. And closing above that 1.2 level, which is 50% from this high to low, that I think will be the launch and up to the top of this channel, and then should be new highs. Now, some people, are there any other interesting patterns out there like that? There is one other that I'm covering. There's one I'm watching, stalking an entry in the gaming space. I'll talk about that in a minute, but we'll whiz through the requests and we'll take a look at these meme coins. So let's take a look at WIF. So one thing we can say, if we take everything off here and take all my scribbles off WIF, one thing we can say about what's going on here is this is making, and it's very common for new coins to do this, to make big 3-wave patterns. So the big, I'm looking at Binance chart, the big rally from the lows here was a big 3 waves. We did a big 3 waves back, and this rally kind of is very choppy, overlapping. Within these we can see kind of 3-wave moves. And when you do that, you know, you kind of go watch level to level to level. So if we say in the middle here, sometimes they don't line up exactly. So what I mean is like this. So you'll do a 3-wave back, and then you're looking for 3 waves back. And sometimes they overlap a bit. They'll look a bit like sideways, which is what we've done here. And the correction in the middle, the B leg, if you like, always needs to unfold as a 3 waves. And I think here in the middle, this was like this. So we have first swing, second swing, and this is our third swing. And if we measure this in width, so potentially this sets us up for a bigger pattern, doesn't it? Because we are at that equal measured move level. Now you can see I always mark the 61.8. The 61.8 is because that's very common in these 3-wave corrections, that the third swing is 61.8 of the first swing. And that level and these previous highs, and you can see we go all the way back to these highs here, now that we're above it, become key support. So we're still bullish and going higher if WIF on this pullback holds 3.4. This so far today is a little bit of a bearish reversal candle, and so if this is going to still go higher and I'm wrong, this is not just a big corrective pattern, 3.4 needs to hold as support. Underneath 3.4, we are likely to see another swing lower. And the most common retrace of a big three-wave corrective pattern like this is a 786, which would be back to kind of the bottom of this sideways range in 2.4. So watch out if we close underneath 3.4 in WIF, we are likely to come back to 2.4. That would be a key place to stalk an entry. How do I look for an entry? Well, let's look at this on the highs. So this is the 15-minute moving averages. Sometimes I look at the hourly. And you can see, in fact, the hourly are very reliable in this. So for me, you know, as long as we hold these hourly moving averages, we are still going up. And if we look at this 15-minute, when you get a bearish cross of the moving averages like we did here, and they become resistance like they did here, you're going to see another swing lower. So here on this 15-minute, we've got underneath these moving averages, we've got a bearish cross and we found resistance. We are likely to see another swing lower. So we know this is key support 3.4, and we know this previous swing low here at 3.5 is also likely to be key support, and the 15-minute 200 moving average. So somewhere 3.4, 3.5 I think is, if we lose these lows, where WIF is likely to pull back to, and this one is still in a correction. Let's take a look at BONK. I haven't got it here. Let's take request for BONK today. Pretty similar pattern. Now, by that I mean we are sideways at these previous highs, and previous highs and lows are always a little bit tricky. But if we're quite bullish because this looks like a big three-wave correction, let's put our fibs on from this high to low. This, and I'm going to put regular candles on. You can see we have reversed at this 886 fib level from this high to this low in BONK. If we close today underneath the 4032, which is the 786 fib level, we're looking underneath it now, but remember, it's the daily close that counts. We could have a spectacular rally in US trading, and this is just sideways, you know, at this level. But if we are to close underneath 4000 in BONK and it becomes resistance, we are quite likely to see a bigger pullback, and 3000 is where we're likely to come back to, which would also be the neckline of this bigger bullish head and shoulders pattern that told us that we got a pretty nice bottom here. So 3000 to 3006 I think is the pullback level if we close underneath 4000 today in this one and the party was over. Now at the moment we haven't, on lower time frames on the 4 hour, we're still holding this 20 moving average. We could very easily bounce here and close back above that level. If we look on the hourly, just like we talked about with these moving averages, that's potentially where resistance is. So we don't want to bounce back into it and find resistance and continue lower. Potentially though, this looks like a textbook. Nice three-wave equal measured move level. So closing and holding above 4000 means on our way up, still going up in BONK and not the bearish reversal. So pretty important level at this 4000 level. Okay, let's talk about some crazy coins. Let's take a look at MAGA. No, you're probably going, why the hell is she looking at this? I think that, you know, the whole Christian Jenner thing to me is crazy, but I think people can look at how much this is raising and go, I want part of it. Whenever you look at big moves like this, so this is a new coin, obviously, since February. Remember, I said that the danger areas are always where the equal measured moves are. So if we measure from this low to this high and we project it from this low, let's just make sure I've done it right. That's kind of where we are. An equal measured move. So you can see that we've stalled here. Key support then is going to be this previous swing low and 11.29, which would be where we back test the 61.8 level. So, and that would also kind of be back test just under these highs. So if we get a bigger reversal here in MAGA, previous swing low and 11.29 is key support, and if we close and get stuck under 11.29, when you have a big 3-wave measured move like this and you get underneath the 61.8, the most common retrace, you put your fibs over both swings. Remember, when you have a big measured move like this, the most common retrace is the 786, which would mean back down here to 3.5. So key level to watch at 11.2 in MAGA against Tether. Let's take a look at that Jana coin, because that is kind of makes me feel like this may be a big top, you know, for meme coins. I hope not. There are some that have really nice bullish patterns, like that Kittenheimer I showed you. Now, I'm kind of, because it's so sleazy, I'm kind of predisposed to hate this, but I have to say that this is not, so far, this pullback here. So this is an hourly chart, right? From the lows, it kind of looks like we made 5 waves up, and this kind of looks like a 3-wave pullback. And I have to say, if I measure like this stopped at the 61.8 level. So I would not be surprised at all here if we made a higher low and another swing higher. Anyway, if I look at this on the hourly then, and we zoom in here to what we're doing, this also looks like another 3-wave pullback before another swing higher. So I'm just going to say, watch out. Don't be shorting this just because you think it's sleazy, because I would not be surprised at all here to see another swing high. Now, if it was just a 3-wave measured move, that would not be so bullish, but it potentially could be another bigger 1, 2, 3 here, and that 786 level at 0.037. If you really want to sell it, that would be where I would be looking for. So yeah, I'm predisposed not to like this. You know, with memes, you kind of got to like the meme, haven't you? And but I wouldn't be surprised if this one goes higher. Just don't put too much in it. Okay, some more to look at. So this is one. People in my trading group are trading. This is another one. So launched in March, very nice 3-wave pullback. So let's first off look at how I analyze the chart. If we measure this first high to low, didn't quite get to this 61.8 level, but you know, not all charts for this are the same. But if I measure from this high to low, the one thing that's going to tell me that we're going up is getting above this 236 fib and seeing a good reaction at this 236 fib says we've got more upside. So here we are. We had a big double top, triple top. This 236 fib was really strong support and resistance. So we're going to call that our really key support here if we're still going higher. Now, each time we got to this fib, so we can lean against it, we had a really nasty reaction. So here we are at the 38.2. As long as we stay above this previous swing low and this 236 fib level, we should see a pullback here and then continue higher. And then the next upside target, obviously, because these fib levels are working so well, is going to be the 50% up here at this swing high at 0.18. So I am expecting a pullback here, but not a bearish reversal, just a pullback in an uptrend for now. It should be like 3 waves. It looks like we've only done one of them. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see a bounce, perhaps a nice 50%, and then another swing lower. And this swing low here maybe, but again, see how it plays out. We shouldn't really swing or close underneath 0.012 in BOME, but we are at OME, but we are at one of those levels where we could see a bigger pullback. Okay, so I mentioned there's another chart that I'm stalking an entry in. Again, I'm not associated with this one. So we talked about the big Gartley pattern in Kittenheimer. I think there's a big Gartley pattern, or it's certainly a big ABC measured move reversal place here in FAR, which is a gaming coin. If we look, we have our first bounce from, I measure from the low to the high. You know, whenever, especially with these meme coins, you need to find the chart. Might not necessarily be the exchange you're on, but the chart with the longest history. So I don't have an account at Bybit. I do have an account at other where I can trade this, but this has a really nice big history here. And we can say big bounce from the 3-wave bounce from the 61.8, and here we are at the 786. And this also is 61.8 of the first swing. So this then is a potential reversal zone for FAR. So I'm looking on lower time frames for these moving averages to get flipped. And here on the hourly, you can see that we've broken above these hourly 200 moving average. We did this before, but then broke back underneath, so it didn't work. This time I'm looking to see, is this a very nice pullback and a base building here and another leg higher holding above this 200 moving average? If it is, where is my first target going to be? Well, you know, if you reverse it to 61.8, you backtest the previous fib support, which is up here at 0.09, the 61.8, and we need to watch out that we don't reverse in. This isn't just a big ABC, because that would mean our pattern hasn't worked. So now we can say this little 3-wave pullback, if we launch from here, get a nice big green signal or an hourly buy signal here, that's what I'm stalking, holding above these hourly moving averages. Upside target is 0.09 for FAR. We might have a little bit of a wobble here in the middle at the 4-hour 200 moving average, which is also, we need to get above this daily 20 moving average. So it's not going to be super smooth. Counter trend reversals aren't usually, but if we can push then 0.9 and above 0.9, we can say that we have bottoms with this bigger pattern in FAR. So that's what I'm looking at. Potentially, it's not a reversal yet. We're still stuck underneath these daily moving averages, but one of those ones where I am kind of looking for a bigger bottoming pattern here. Okay, I've got some more requests. Let's take a look at those. First one we're going to look at is GRT. We'll look at it now. First off, on the monthly, this looks like it has made a pretty nice bottoming pattern. It's come almost all the way back to the launch price, but I like how on the monthly we have reversed higher highs. So we've made a higher high and a higher low. That's the classic sign of a trend reversal. And if we measure this first swing that we made, one of the kind of things that makes this is potentially a wave 3 is that when it gets to at least 1.618 of this first swing, which this has, and so yeah, we have flipped our weekly moving averages, we've pulled back into them for support. Are we ready to go up again? That's the key question. Or is this just a B leg or a middle leg or an exit before another bigger correction, and do we need to pull back a little bit further? If we measure all the way from these lows and we look at where we have bounced from, we're in that tricky zone. So 50% is a really clear, sharp reversal level, but 61.8, between the 61.8 and 38.2 is that golden ratio zone where the bulls and the bears often fight it out. It can be very choppy. On the weekly, you can see that we're back inside of it. Now, the good news about this is if this is just a shallow pullback and we're going to keep going higher, this 50% level here in the middle should hold as support. It's at 0.272. So here on the daily, that's kind of, you know, in the golden ratio zone. You can sometimes go, you know, back and forward a few times. But if we're going to go up, that's usually what we'll see if we have reversed the trend. So on this pullback here, we don't want to trade underneath 0.27. We're likely to go back to the bottom of the range if we do. But otherwise, shorter term, I'm expecting a nice 3-wave pullback. This daily 50 to moving average to hold a support, which is at 0.28 and potentially a little bit lower. And that 50% level at 0.27, which you can see if we look left. Support, support, resistance, resistance. That's the kind of key level. And where we don't really want to get stuck underneath in GRT. So yeah, looking very nice. I think this pullback should give us more on the upside now. Next upside then would be this 236 fib, and then a retest of the highs once we flip with these moving averages and we're moving higher. If you're not sure, sometimes it works if you put the fib retraces going in the other way. And we can say, oh look, we're reversing at this 50% level, aren't we? And this 38.2 here at 0.3 is support. So we can say clearly that if that breaks, we're going to do 50% back of this whole rally. And that puts us obviously back towards that exact support zone, the second. So we've got two support zones in GRT where we could turn higher from. So I'm watching these Heikinashis, see if we get a daily bullish reversal here, lower time frames as well. You can see potentially a pretty nice double bottom here. It's not clear. So those are the two levels I'm expecting to hold as support in GRT and another swing higher. Let's take a look at where we might go to. Bigger picture. Now, take all our mess off. Sometimes, you know, that 236 fib is your first target. If we were to put that on from the high to this low, if we were to do another swing higher, which is quite a long way from where we are, but 0.72 really would be my first target. Now, sometimes the market is looking not from all the way, but the most recent swing. And the best sign of that is if you get a strong reaction at the 236 fib. And clearly we can say when we look at this, that that's not what we got. But is it this most recent swing maybe? Maybe. And actually this kind of makes more sense, like, because this 236 fib, we got a really strong reaction, so it validates these fib levels. We reversed at an 886 and we've pulled back. We're sideways at this 50. Looking pretty good, doesn't it? So I still say that the bigger, if we continue higher here, or we take out this swing high at 0.55, 0.77, as long as we ride these moving averages, would be my next first target on the upside. So good luck. That's how GRT is looking for me. Let's take a look at Ondo. Another request. Whoa. This is on fire. What I like about this is, unlike, say, MAGA, which we measured, we're not quite at that equal measured move level, where we might have some trouble here from this first swing. That comes in at 1.43. So the next upside target in this one, 1.43, and I would really like to see 1.09 to hold as support to keep going higher, and then 1.9 would be where this swing would be, 1.618 of the first swing. So that's how I'm looking at this, and so a three-wave pullback that does not get stuck underneath 1.09 should be where Ondo finds some support. If we lose these lows then in the middle, that also might not come back that far, maybe just to 1.13. That would be the equal measured move level if we go higher from here. The problem is at the moment we're in the middle and sideways and we haven't got a clear buy signal. We could very easily do another wave higher here. So we go 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3 up, and then, you know. So yeah, in a correction in Ondo, looking for 1.4 and potentially 1.9 on the upside. Bigger reversal if we get stuck underneath 1.09 in this one. And BNB, this is another coin that's surprisingly doing well at the moment. Haven't looked at this one for a while. Let me find BNB. If not, we will just take BNB and see what's going on with this, because it's got really strong volume. Now, if we look at this on the weekly, this made a very bullish pattern here on the weekly, from the highs that we made in 2021 to the lows that we made in 2022, we can see that this is a very clear three-wave corrective pattern. High to low, low to high, equal measured move. Back tested the 61.8, first time got rejected, got above it, really strong move. So we can apply some rules here to say, are we still going higher in BNB? First off, because this is a three-wave equal measured move, we're going to put our fibs on both swings, high to low, and you can see that we reversed at this 886 fib level. It's like crypto's favorite fib. If we break down here and we do another swing lower, we get back underneath this 786 fib level, the likely support comes much lower at 440. At the moment though, when we look at this as a pattern, this is very bullish sideways consolidation in a really strong uptrend. I wouldn't bet on this breaking down unless it actually does break down. The problem is it's kind of could go either way, couldn't it? So again, short term, we can say that this 786 fib level again, which let's look at the numbers, is at 583. Back underneath 583 in BNB and back underneath the daily 50 moving average, says back to range lows. So the shorts in this would be from here to here. And then if this breaks down, we're going to look for that 440 level. For now though, really bullish consolidation and not a short for me. Okay, I hope that's useful. Let me know if there's anything you'd like me to look at.